He says, quote, "In honor of our great veterans on Veterans Day, we pledge to you that we will root out the communists, Marxists, fascists, and radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country, lie, steal, and cheat on elections, and will do anything possible, whether legally or illegally, to destroy America." Are you comfortable with this language coming from the GOP frontrunner?
Again, I am not going to comment on candidates and their campaign messaging. I will say this. I know President Trump supports the veterans. Our whole party supports our veterans. And I do think we're at a very serious moment in our country.
Former President Trump this week, during one of his campaign events, he essentially threatened to indict his political enemies if he wins a second term. Does that essentially make the Republican Party take a stance of the Republican Party stands for revenge? What do you think of that messaging?
You know, I'm not going to get involved in rhetoric that's happening during a contested campaign for our presidential nominee. I will say a lot of Republicans, Kirsten, feel like there's a two-tier system of justice, that Republicans are getting prosecuted or persecuted through prosecution. And they see it with President Trump. People really feel like there's one set of standards for Republicans and different for Democrats, and they've seen it come through Democrat attorneys general or others, and that is something that concerns a lot of Republicans.
As you know, though, Democratic Senator Bob Menendez has been indicted. The New York Democratic Mayor Eric Adams just had his phone searched by the FBI. So doesn't that undercut the argument that there's a two-tiered system of justice? Democrats are being indicted, investigated as well. How can you guys continue to make that argument?
I think when you look at what's happened with the Biden family and what's been uncovered since we've taken the House.
Hunter Biden's been indicted too.
That's Ronna McDaniel, the chair of the Republican Party. By the way, I'll show you another clip of Ronna McDaniel in a moment, but there she is just covering for Donald Trump as Donald Trump quite literally repeats the words of Adolf Hitler over and over again. And I'm just so shocked at not just her conduct, because I expect that from the Republican Party, and I shouldn't be by the New York Times, but by the way, here was their headline: Trump takes Veterans Day speech in a very different direction. If by a different direction you mean straight up authoritarian and fascist, but like just say what it is. And here's what Donald Trump had to post on his social media platform. Let me show you what Donald Trump posted, and then I'll show you what President Biden was doing at the same time. But here's what Donald Trump wrote. He said, "In honor of our great veterans on Veterans Day, we pledge to you that we will root out the communists, Marxists, fascists, and radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country, lie, steal, and cheat on elections, and will do anything possible, whether legally or illegally, to destroy America and the American dream. The threat from outside forces is far less sinister, dangerous, and grave than the threat from within. Despite the hatred and anger of the radical left lunatics who want to destroy our country, we will make America great again." And many of these sentences look exactly like the type of things that Adolf Hitler said. The resemblance is uncanny. The threat from within, the vermin quote.
Today, especially in honor of our great veterans on Veterans Day, we pledge to you that we will root out the communists, Marxists, fascists, and the radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country, that lie and steal and cheat on elections, and will do anything possible. They'll do anything, whether legally or illegally, to destroy America and to destroy the American dream. The real threat is not from the radical right. The real threat is from the radical left, and it's growing every day, every single day. The threat from outside forces is far less sinister, dangerous, and grave than the threat from within. Our threat is from within, because if you have a capable, competent, smart, tough leader, Russia, China, North Korea, they're not going to want to play with us. And they didn't. Despite the hatred and anger of the radical left lunatics who want to destroy our country, we will make America great again.
And by the way, we did here at the MeidasTouch Network, we pulled a list of just, here's what Trump says, here's what Hitler says. I'll show you some examples. This has to be, as we said, this has to be intentional and should be on every front page. Hitler, I will get rid of the communist vermin. Trump, I will get rid of the communist vermin. Hitler, I will take care of the enemy within. Trump, I will take care of the threat from within. Hitler, Jews and migrants are poisoning Aryan blood. Trump, migrants are poisoning poisoning the blood of our country. Hitler, one people, one realm, one leader. Trump, one people, one family, one glorious nation. And by the way, you get the New York Times headline, Trump takes Veterans Day speech in a very different direction. That's how they respond to all of this. Take a look at Donald Trump's other post right here. Here he is saying, Fulton County, Georgia acknowledges in a major consent decree that 3,600 individual ballots were duplicated. That's a lot of crime. When are the rest of the facts coming out? We are all waiting. This is just the beginning. Unbelievable. More lies about the election, and it should be noted, why is he specifically targeting that as well? Letter laced with fentanyl sent to Fulton Elections Office, officials say. Donald Trump knows exactly what he is doing there, and as you look through some of his other posts, so here is the grift continues. It says Trump's gift to Americans, but perhaps it should say Trump's grift to Americans. An IRS loophole left open by Donald Trump could qualify you for $1,000 in silver. Just some like BS ads right here. The guy added $8 trillion of debt, most likely raised your taxes unless you're a billionaire and a decamillionaire, and now has a social media platform where he runs ads saying that the gift is some IRS loophole that will give you $1,000 in free silver, which I can almost assure you, as you look deeper into it, you'll probably find out that it is totally BS. So, and here's the other one. Important alert. Advantage Gold. 401k participants can now purchase physical gold penalty-free thanks to the loophole by Donald Trump. I mean, this is like the equivalent of the dictator trying to throw breadcrumbs at people after he screws them over. Let's take a look also. I said I was going to show you the other Ronna McDaniel quote. Ronna McDaniel's assessment is that Republicans have it right on the issue of abortion and that they need to move for more draconian measures taking away a woman's reproductive rights, just as Donald Trump did in appointing the 3 Supreme Court justices who did just that. Play the clip.
This isn't true. Listen, I'm proud to be a pro-life party, but we can win on this message. The American people are where we are, and they want common sense limitations. They want more access to adoption. We want to make sure that there's pregnancy crisis centers. These are things we can win on, but we have to talk about it, and you can't hide in a corner and think abortion's not going to be an issue.
So take Donald Trump's statements and that of Ronna McDaniel right there and compare that just to what's going on in America right now. Like, record high share of U.S. consumer planning to go on vacation to a foreign country within the next 6 months. This is showing record consumer confidence right here. But of course, no one wants to give President Biden credit for it because it doesn't fit a neat narrative. How about this one over here with President Biden? By a wide margin, the U.S. has the highest cumulative real economic growth of any G7 country post-COVID under President Biden. It's not even close. America's economy is just blowing out all of the other G7 nations right now. But of course, who wants to give President Biden credit for that if it doesn't fit your neat narrative? What about this indicator? 34 consecutive months of job growth. Unemployment is below 4% for over 22 straight months. But that doesn't fit a neat narrative about President Biden that legacy media wants to tell. They want to attack President Biden, and then when Donald Trump just gives up straight up Hitler-like speeches, what is their response? They go, that was just a different type of speech right there. That was very different. Just take a look at what even President Biden's posting about here. Here he is congratulating the culinary and bartenders unions who work together in good faith towards an agreement that gives all workers the quality of life they deserve, and talking about the sacrifice of hospitality workers. Here President Biden's talking about the steps he's taking to reduce inflation and how he's taking steps to reduce gas prices, which are down $1.60 from their peak. Here President Biden's talking about the power of American workers who are ready to work harder than anyone else, and all American workers need is a shot. Here's President Biden talking about infrastructure, how over 2,200 trains run on the Northeast Corridor every day, serving 800,000 passengers. It's the busiest corridor in the United States and one of the busiest in the world. Today, it gets the investments it deserves. Here, President Biden announces $16 billion to fund 25 different American railroad projects. Here's President Biden talking about parents, teachers, school nurses, counselors, and young people about the importance of mental health. Here's President Biden talking about tangible steps to reduce inflation. But then you have MAGA Republicans talking about basically just straight up fascism. And so, folks, it's right there for you to look at. It's right there for you to make the decision. It's right in front of all of our faces. Compare President Biden, compare it to Donald Trump and the things that Donald Trump says. By the way, I'll just play for you this last clip. This is where Donald Trump even just confuses that, well, he's praising Viktor Orban and then thinks that Obama is still the president. Play the clip.
So much more. But the head of Hungary, a very tough, strong guy, Viktor Orban. Did anybody ever hear of him? Probably, considered very powerful within his country and outside of his country. Not exactly loved by some of the European nations because he does his thing. He didn't allow millions of people to invade his country. He allowed nobody to invade. Zero. He had nobody. So he doesn't have crime and he doesn't have the problems that they're having in other countries where millions of people are allowed to go in. But they were interviewing him 2 weeks ago and they said, what would you advise President Obama? The whole world seems to be exploding and imploding. And he said, it's very simple. He should immediately resign and they should replace him with President Trump, who kept the world safe. And I'm not just talking the United States. China respected him. Russia respected him. North Korea respected him. And he used another word other than respect, who he said fear. But I don't want to use that word.
There you have it, folks. Just make the decision for yourself and tell me how you feel in the comments. I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 2 million subscribers thanks to your support. And check us out at patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Have a great one.
At MeidasTouch, we are unapologetically pro-democracy, and we demand justice and accountability. That's why we're spreading our message to Convict 45. That's right, gear up right now with your Convict 45 tees and pins at store.MeidasTouch.com. That's store.MeidasTouch.com.